Welcome to Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan, the golf podcast that interviews the best and brightest minds in the golf industry. Now, here's your host, Bernard Sheridan.
Rob, welcome to Breaking Par. Thanks for being with us today.
Great to be here on Breaking Par with Bernie Sheridan. I'm excited to be part of your show today and talk about golf and some fun things in the game. And I started off my Monday. It's the day after the Super Bowl, and we're all trying to catch our breath after not only that, but a great Phoenix Open finish yesterday. I just had to put my paper bag to the side I've been breathing into for the last 12 hours to kind of slow down here so you and I can talk golf. But I started my Monday morning off just perfectly. I had a little breakfast out of the toilet here, so my day can only get better. A little cereal out of my toilet bowl, cup, and here I am talking to you, excited to go wherever we go today.
Right, so I'm glad that you added the word cup to the end of that because for the listening audience on like iTunes and things like that, they can't see what we're doing. Our viewing audience on YouTube will see that and they'll probably get a good chuckle out of it. But for those of you out there who can't see this, Rob had a cup that is shaped like a toilet bowl. He's not actually eating cereal out of his toilet bowl.
But the funny thing about that is that was a thank you gift from someone that I got at Christmas. So it kind of tells you, how thankful they were for me that they gave me a toilet to eat my breakfast out of.
That's funny. So give us a little bit of insight on where you started with this game of golf, and what was the first time that you actually picked up a golf club, and then when did it trigger into becoming a passion for you?
Well, I've got a really interesting background in the game in that I grew up just outside of St. Louis in Belleville, Illinois, at St. Clair Country Club, and I got my first set of golf clubs when I was 6 years old for my birthday from my dad. And I grew up with a putting green in my backyard right after that. And St. Clair Country Club, for people that don't know it, I call it the home of modern American golf, with all apologies to all the other clubs. When you look at St. Clair, you've got 68 Masters champion Bob Goldie, Jay Haas, who's been on tour forever, a Bobby Jones Award recipient, Jay's younger brother Jerry, who's my contemporary, is the coach at Wake Forest, played the tour for a long time, Frank Connor, who played in two different U.S. Opens, which is kind of a trick question, and that he played in the U.S. Open as a tennis player and as a golfer. And then myself, all five of us actually were born there and grew up there playing the game. So this course has produced five people that played tour-level golf. And there's another course like that in the country. It's a fantastic layout. It's an old-school course. You learn every shot in the game. So I grew up playing golf there, and we had some great sticks. We had a thing called the St. Louis District Junior Competition. We played every Monday. All the clubs in St. Louis sent teams of kids, two in each age group. We competed against each other. We played a lot of points events, and we were either first or second every year. So, whether it was Jerry and I and Bob's son Kai Golby, we carrying the team and all these other good kids. We had some great players, coming out of there, and played high school golf. Was all area in high school, and then went and played college golf in Louisiana. I got out of the cold weather of St. Louis and got south to Louisiana and played at Centenary College, which is where Hal Sutton went to school. I was a couple years after Hal, and had kind of a mediocre college career. And after that, I'd put in a lot of work in my game. I decided I was going to turn pro and play competitively. And as long as I was improving, I was going to keep plugging along. Because I tell my players, I say, in golf, it's an unpredictable, volatile sport. And these kids that want to play professional golf, I tell them this. The thing you've got to do aside from all the time dedications is when you turn pro, the biggest mistake everybody makes is they give themselves a timeline. They say, I'm going to give myself 2 years. Well, now you've put yourself up against a wall. I tell them, as long as you're improving and you're learning how to compete, you keep going. Because it's a never-ending learning process. You never know when it's going to click or the door's going to swing open a little bit and you punch through it, you kick through the door, and all of a sudden, here you are on the web.com tour or on the big tour, and everybody's like, wow, this kid started off at this level and kept improving and got to where they are now. So that was kind of my background. I've played events from the PGA Tour down through the mini tours, I always say on the PGA Tour, I had a cold cup of watered down coffee with a cigarette butt in it. That was my kind of level of experience out there. But I wouldn't trade it, for a win on tour, because it allows me, when I coach my players, whether they're high school kids, college kids, or tour players, to share a breadth of experience that, a lot of coaches don't have.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I know that with the gentleman that I work with, Bobby Clampett, he was on tour. He went through struggles, so he understands the struggles that everyday golfers go through, because he went through it himself, to a point where he couldn't actually even stay on tour, and left and went into broadcasting and did that for a while. And then after many, many years, came back and played on the Champions Tour for 5 years. Through that time, he basically wrote the book Impact Zone Golf. Started to get involved more in that full time. A few years back, decided to go all out full time with it. Left the Champions Tour, gave me a call, said, "Hey, want to join me?" I was like, "Are you kidding? I would love to be in Naples." I mean, that's kind of like,
who wouldn't want to be in Naples, Florida?
Who wouldn't want to be in Naples, Florida all the time? So it's so we've been open down here for a year, and it's a process, of course. Even though Bobby is very well known, it takes a little time to get a new operation off the ground. We're also affiliated with Golf Academy, Golf Channel Golf Academy, as yourself, and that's definitely helping. And things are going great. We just had a 2-day golf school. We had 9 students there. They were all thrilled. I had a great time. They had a great time. Bobby had a great time. The weather was absolutely gorgeous. 81 both days. Nice little breeze going. He always uses those experiences to work with the students, as I'm sure that you do. What made you decide to go that direction and go into instruction?
Let me rewind to something you just said, Bernie. That's really key, and then I'll answer that question.
Sure.
You said your group there had a great experience and a great time. And one of our prongs of outreach here at the Strano Golf Academy in Destin, Florida, is bringing the fun and enjoyment back to the game. And it's been lost. And I kind of pick an arbitrary date, not knowing that you can pick a perfect date, of around 1970. That's kind of where, to me, the game changed. Let me explain that. About 1970 was the first time you could make a living playing professional golf. So up to that point, everybody was having a good time playing the game. It was a fun game. It was get together, throw some skin money out there, have a good time. But in 1970-ish, you could make money playing the game. So then everybody said, you know what? I want to make money being a tour player. I want to play professional golf. So we lost the fun aspect. Everybody's like, I should be good enough to play the tour. And so everybody's been using that as a measuring stick. And one of the things we talk about at the academy is we talk about, don't always grade yourself on what your handicap is or what your score is. And I'll say to players, what I want you to do when you get done playing golf, don't look at your scorecard. Don't look at your score. As you're walking off the 18th green, I want you to rewind in your brain and pick your best moments from the day. What were your 3 or 4, like your top 10 list? What were my top shots from the day? And remember those, and then savor those and go, man, that shot I hit on 6, I stiffed that 6-iron, or I made that 40-footer on 9, or boy, I got up on 14, I was going to cut the corner, and I hit that perfect draw right over the corner. Find your moments you savor first, and then look at your score and try to evaluate, what do I need to work on to improve my score or my handicap. We get wrapped around numbers too much in golf, and we forget what was the game's origin. The game's origin was, I loved golf, and I lived in a town, and Bernie Sheridan was a buddy of mine, and he had a couple of buddies I liked. And I went and played golf somewhere for the first time, and I went, this is fun. I'm going to build a golf course in my town. And I built a golf course, and I invited my friends to come, and they bring their families. And we got together and hung out and had a good time and played golf. We didn't think about being a tour player. We didn't think about our handicap. Score was an ancillary thing. It was our time to get away and enjoy the game and have a great experience and forget about business-related stuff or whatever, But like you said, in your group that came and worked with you at your golf school, they had a great time. One thing I tell coaches is this, and at the PGA show recently, I had a lot of young coaches cornering me because of Golf Channel, and they'd see me on the station, and they'd follow me online. And they said, how do I get better at what I do? And I said this to them. I said, read a lot. It doesn't necessarily have to be golf books, but read a lot. But when you read a golf book, I want you to pick out 5 things that are key things in that book to you that you either agree or disagree with, and be able to quote them off the top of your head. So, for example, along the lines of what we're talking about, Bernie, is I'm reading Jim Flick's book right now. And 2 of the 5 things I've already got highlighted and bookmarked and pegged in my brain. But on one page early in the book, Jim uses the word fun 5 times in one page.
Wow.
5 times in one page. If people got back to having fun on the golf course, and we stressed fun to them, boy, would we grow the game, and they'd have a better understanding of what they're trying to do when they go out there. If they went out there to have fun and realize, I'm going to have some great moments, and I'm going to have some off-kilter moments because I'm not devoting my life to the game of golf. I've got a family, I've got a successful business, I've got other interests, and golf is something I go out and I enjoy the beautiful landscape of the golf course, the challenge of the game, and what are my great moments. We introduce great moments and fun back into this, and all of a sudden, we're able to grow the game in the right way. And that answers your question also, is why and how did I get into coaching the game? Well, I was at the end of my playing career. I played for 15 years, and like I said, had a lot of great experiences, played against a lot of great players, and my son will still flip open my scrapbook every now and then, and he'll flip through it, and he'll go, wow, Dad, do you realize you beat these guys in this week? And I'm like, I guess I did. I'd forgotten that. It was so long ago now. And last year I tweeted out to Charlie Reimer the day after Furyk shot 58. For some reason on the internet, I was searching something, and there was a scoring column that came up that was out there. And it was from the tour from years ago, and it was after the 3rd round, and Jerry Kelly had finished 2nd at Hartford after Furyk shot 58. And the 2 guys immediately ahead of Furyk and Kelly in the scoring table were Charlie Reimer and I. We had them both by 1. And I tweeted it and sent it to Charlie. I said, look, however many years ago, we had these guys who shot 58 and finished 2nd this week. We had them beat by 1. And Charlie retweeted it. It was really odd that popped up. But I got to the end of my playing career, and I started to realize mentally I still thought I was 25, but the birth certificate said 40. And my last couple years, I got hurt. I had to have knee surgery. I tore up my wrist and had to have it put in a cast. I was in a cast for the first time in my life, and I pulled a rib cage muscle in the middle of a tour event, and that really hurt. And all 3 of those events happened when I was starting to play really well. And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I looked at, excuse me, I looked at what was next for Rob Strano, what was next for Rob Strano, and I saw that I could take my experiences as a player and my knowledge of growing up with the Golbys and the Haasses and being coached by Jim Suddy and Mike Adams. I could take that experience and open a golf academy and share my love for the game and the right way to improve your game and have more fun with the game to people and get them to go out there and improve, have more fun, and grow the game. So that was kind of the genesis of where I got to where I went from being a player to going into opening the Strano Golf Academy and now being a Golf Channel Academy in the Panhandle of Florida. And now people always ask me, Rob, how much golf do you play? And I played so much golf growing up. It was incredible. For the last several years, I haven't played more than 100 holes of golf in a year because I don't have time. I'm always on the tee. I'm always working with a player, or my Monday's my only day where I get to do fun things like this, visit with you, and do administrative work. And even with that, at noon today, I'm checking out of here. I've got a tour player in town, that's a ladies European Tour player, and we're getting her ready for the season, and we're going to spend the afternoon working on her game. So I don't get time to get in the golf course. So I live vicariously through my players when they go play and come back, and they say, I had it going today. I'm always my goal is always breaking 80, and I was right there. And in the last couple of holes, I got ahead of myself and made a couple bogeys coming in, and I get to help them troubleshoot that. And we go back out in the course and we go, okay, where did all of a sudden you start thinking the wrong stuff here? And we'll play in, and I'll coach them in like I'm there with them. And all of a sudden they see how to properly get it in the house and not get it in the house going backwards, but get it in the house pressing forward. So that was kind of the way I got to where I am today. And, I always say I never go to work. Every day is a new fun experience with me because I love bringing the energy, enthusiasm I have for the game to each individual lesson. And some coaches will say, well, the hardest thing I do is having the same energy at 4 o'clock that I have at 9. I have the same energy at 4 as I have at 9. Or if I was giving a midnight lesson to using Caddyshack to the daughter of the dean out there, midnight golf, I'd have the same energy then. So, I just love the game. I love what I do, and it's just a blast doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I'm totally passionate about the game, and I'm always having a great time with it. I don't really feel like I'm going to work. I mean, some people, when they go to work every day, their job is humdrum. They're not happy with what they're doing. They're not passionate about what they're doing. And for me and guys like you, we just love the game so much, and to be able to pass that knowledge on to others. And it's funny how you said you only play about 100 holes a year. I'm lucky if I get 18 holes a year in because of that same reason. And I know that so many coaches that I talk to, they never have the opportunity to actually go play because they're so busy teaching and helping others. And then when they do have a little bit of free time, they're doing the other things to help promote themselves, or they're doing family things. They're getting time to be with their family and things like that, and they really don't have the opportunity to go out and play around the golf.
Exactly. And the funny thing about my 100 holes last year is I actually played 54 holes in 1 week. One of my clients said, hey, why don't you join us in Cabo? About this time last year, right around Valentine's Day. And he said, bring your wife. We'll spend a week in Cabo and we'll play golf. And I went, yeah, I'm there. And my wife, it took her less than a second to say, I can get free. So we flew to Cabo, and we played at Cabo del Sol 3 days, which is a desert golf course. And hadn't played. And I think if I remember right, I shot 74, 72, 71 over 3 days on the Nicholas and Weiss golf courses there at Cabo del Sol. I really was enjoying. I had a great time. In fact, the last day, a little bit of the old tour player came out in me, in that it was one of those rounds where I got it 2 under, and to a tour player, 2 under. I always say this: 2 under is the tipping point of a round for a tour player. And I got to 2 under in the round, and I'll explain the tipping point thing in a minute. But I got to 2 under, and I could not punch to 3. And I made a bogey and a birdie and a bogey coming in and shot 1 under. And I was just like, oh, man, that could have been 66 today. But for someone that doesn't play, 71 was a good round. But let me explain the 200 tipping point because it's so true. And when you watch golf on TV, whether you're watching the PGA, LPGA Champions, European Tour, watch for players when they get to 2 under. Because here's where the tipping point is in the round. At 2 under, if you can punch to 3, okay, you can get rolling, and a mistake doesn't hurt you as bad. If you're at 2, and I always say at 2 under, the next birdie or bogey is key. So if I'm at 2 and I make a bogey, I'm back to 1 now. And I'm one odd, quirky thing away from happening to being right back where I started the day at even. And now, let's say I'm 2 under through 10 or 12, and I make a bogey off a bad play. And the next hole I hit a shot that takes a bad bounce and goes behind a tree, and I make another bogey. Now I'm through 14 holes. I'm right back where I started the round, and I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. And that's where that frustration kicks in with the player. Whereas if I'm 2 and I punched a 3. Now I've got a reachable par 5, and bang, I reach it in 2, and all of a sudden I'm 4. Then the next hole I stiffen and I'm 5. Then I chip in and I'm 6, and that's how things get rolling. But when you get to 3, an odd bounce or something that makes a bogey happen doesn't hurt you, because then you're right back to 2.
Do you find most players, when they're in that position, play a little bit more aggressively, or do you think that they're just trying to hold that line? I mean, it sounds to me like that they would get a little bit more aggressive because they want to get to 3 to get that extra little pad.
Well, it depends, and it's the thing I coach is golf is a situational sport, and you have to have situational awareness. Whether you're me or Patrick in New Jersey or Ken in Dallas, those guys I coach, you have to understand how do you respond to the situations and how do you best answer the question put to you, which is this hole in front of me. How do I best play it? So I always say, once again, not picking an accurate number because they vary from player to player.
Sure.
Every golf course is going to have 4 holes that you don't like. They don't fit your eye. You don't feel like you have a shot that works off the tee or as the approach. And I always say those holes are like people you don't like. When you run into them, you hope there's not a fight. And if there is, you hope no one gets hurt too bad. And I tell players at that point, okay, we're going to try to make the easiest par possible. So if it's a driver and a 9-iron hole, maybe for you sting a hybrid out there and hit a little smooth 7 in, 20 feet in the middle of the green. And have you ever made a 20-footer before? Of course you have. So if you knock a 20-footer and boom, we just got away with one. But if we Ginsburg one up there and we tap it in, we step away and go, okay, no harm, no foul. So it's got to be situational awareness as you're working through when you're 2, looking to get to 3. Am I at an attacking point, or am I one of my holes that, okay, I've got to be smart here as I play this hole? The cliche of one shot at a time. But, at that point in the round, you're always wanting to make confident swings with a conservative game plan. I think Mickelson said that one time. He wants to make aggressive swings with a smart, conservative game plan. And when you do that, that's when the score starts rolling on you, because you're not doing dumb things, and you're not backing off the pedal too much. You're staying confident, you're staying aggressive, and the round comes to you then. When you try to force it and punch to 3, that's when you get that shot where you go, it's a left flag over a bunker, and you say, I'm going to aim right at it, and you tug it a little bit, and it kicks down the slope, and now you're short-sided, and the green runs away, and you flip it up there 15 feet as your best shot, and you make bogey, and you go, what was I thinking there? That was dumb. And that kind of how that kind of jogs back and forth. So as a player, you've got to pay attention to the game, and that's the fun of the game. Is I always tell some of my players that are learning to compete, if the golf course could talk to you, what would it say? And it would talk smack to you. You'd show up on the first tee, and the course would say, you ain't got nothing for me today, pal. You may start off good, but I know you don't like the 6th and 7th hole. And you're going to get there, and I own you on 6 and 7. So you might be even or 1 over, but after 7, I'm going to ruin your day. So you've got to get there and have awareness of the golf course is set up to challenge you, and you got to be ready to challenge it back, instead of just putting a tee in the ground and saying, hey, let's swing away at this and see where it goes. We got to have some strategy and some situational awareness as we try to maneuver our golf ball through the course. And think about golf this way. If I gave you a golf ball, Bernie, and it wasn't a Titleist or a TaylorMade or a Volvic or whatever your favorite flavor of ball is, but I gave you a golf ball that was made of diamonds, and it flew just like a pro level ball, but it was diamond coated. And I said, after the round, Bernie, you can keep this ball. And by the way, this ball is worth $10 million. How would you maneuver that ball around the course to make sure you got to keep it at the end of the day? Because I guarantee you, you're not going to keep it and put it in your golf bag. You're going to take it right down to the local pawn shop or jeweler and say, cash this in, baby. I want $10 million. So if you thought about the ball as a valuable gem, what would your strategy look like as you involve the situations you see on the golf course?
That's a great advice, because really, people don't think about it that way at all. I mean, they just think
They swing away.
Yeah, they just swing away, or they just or they're totally apprehensive about what they're about to do because they're so afraid that they're going to lose the ball, or they're going to hit it out of bounds, or they're going to hit it into the water, or any of those things. So I think that some people would be a little bit more overprotective of that ball, but some would be fairly aggressive with it, but also to a point where they're not going to hit it into trouble. They're going to think about what they're about to do before they do it, as opposed to just walking up and hitting it.
Exactly, and you hit on a key thing there about being apprehensive of losing the ball or hitting it out of bounds. And one of I mentioned key points of focus we have at the Strano Golf Academy, and it's one that me and my staff coaches are really strongly promoting, and I'd love for everybody that's watching this to rally around this, and I'm going to try to rally this cause for the next couple years. And I call it this, and it's a modern adaptation on something that needs to come out of the 1920s and come into the 2020s. It's this: not out of bounds or lost, but out of play. So let me explain that. The course I grew up at, St. Clair, or Algonquin in St. Louis, or Westboro in St. Louis, or Belle Reve, or any of these great old courses, you never really thought about out of bounds on the course because the course was right here and you had the perimeter around it, and you might see out of bounds every once in a while where you go, okay, that's tight on the right. At St. Clair, there's 2 holes where we worry about hitting out of bounds. Otherwise, we don't ever think about out of bounds. What do the modern courses look like, though? They are chutes with out of bounds and homes right and out of bounds and homes left, or golf ball gone on the right, whether it's a water hazard or trees, and out of bounds left. And the average player gets up there on this modern design with an old rule, and they're so tight they can't get the club back. And so therefore, they're afraid of losing the ball. They're afraid of incurring a penalty. So they can't swing free. It's hard to implement a strategy because the strategy is just hit it down the hallway. And now all of a sudden they're frozen and they're hit one off the tee, then they peg another one because it's out of bounds, or it's in the Palmettos here in Florida. And they're going, okay, I haven't gone anywhere, and now I'm hitting 3. So the new rule modification is not out of bounds or lost, but out of play. So it works like this. And I can use a Super Bowl example or football example from yesterday. When Tom Brady throws a 10-yard out to Julian Edelman, and he steps out of bounds, they don't bring the golf ball back to the line of scrimmage and go, loss of downs, 2nd down. No. They go, where'd he go out of bounds, come to the hash mark, move on. So if you hit the ball in Mr. Jones's backyard, or you hit it, and everybody says it went in the Palmettos right there, or it went in the bushes there, no penalty. 2 club lengths from the nearest spot inbounds, and play on. That would be a great modification for the game to match the modern courses. So modern rule to match the modern courses. So my question to you is this. Now, yeah, under USGA conditions, big events, you're going to play the old rule. But for your Friday, Saturday, Sunday players, for your guys getting out after work, if they played out of play, not lost or out of bounds, my question to you is, would they have more fun playing the game of golf?
I think they would definitely have more fun playing the game of golf.
And that's the key right there.
They wouldn't be losing strokes. And then the other thing that they would be doing is they would be moving pace of play better. And a lot of players play on the weekend when pace of play is much slower just because the golf course is packed. This is when everybody has the opportunity to play. Not everybody can go out and play on the weekday. If they played that type of a rule, it would be overall much better for recreational golf and golf in general, because you would have quicker rounds. People would be having more fun. Because they're having more fun, they want to come back and they want to continue to play, stay in the game, keep playing golf because they're having a good time. They're not out there dragging their feet for 6 hours on a Sunday afternoon and not able to get back in time to watch that football game or to watch whatever it is that they want to do. Yeah, get back to their family, be with their kids, throw a steak on the grill and enjoy the and have a cold one and enjoy the rest of the evening, as opposed to adding strokes to their game. Frustrating handicap goes up in their mind, or they're not shooting the scores that they wish they did, and the round is slower. I mean, hey, if we could get everybody to rally around that, I'm 100% for it in recreational golf. Tournament golf is one thing.
Exactly.
Recreational golf is another. I think a lot of people don't know the difference. They try to make their recreational golf tournament golf. They're not going to have as much fun either. I mean, it's. I know that to me, that the most important thing when I'm playing around a golf is not my score. It's that fun factor, and it's also, to me, the camaraderie of people that I've met. Because a lot of times I play on my own, especially now that I'm in Florida. I don't have a ton of friends down here yet. I've only been down here for about a year and a half. The friends that I have are the people who I work with. A lot of times they're working when I'm not, because we only have so many guys on the team and gals, and they have to cover. So there's not a lot of people that I can grab from work and say, hey, you want to go play a round of golf this afternoon, or something like that. So I'm usually, if I go out, I'm playing with people who I've never met in a foursome. So there's 3 new people. To me, I want to get to know those people, and I want to enjoy the afternoon with them, and I want to cheer them on, and I mean, I'm that kind of a player. I mean, that's probably why I never played competitive golf, and that I always was a coach, because I get more pleasure out of cheering on somebody else than trying to get the accolades for myself. That's where I really have a good time, because everybody's having fun, and we're not putting all this pressure on score.
Without a doubt. And interesting question for you is, being a new Florida resident, where did you move from, Bernie? Where were you before you came to Florida?
I was in Pennsylvania.
So you're way happy to be out of the drifting snow of Pennsylvania. Now, where in Pennsylvania specifically?
Just outside of Philadelphia, a little bit north and west of Philadelphia, about 20 minutes outside of Center City. I had an indoor facility just outside of Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, in a little town called Oaks. Right now, the same building that I was in, when you see the dog show on TV that's every year, that's in the Expo Center, the Philadelphia Expo Center, and that's the same exact building that my indoor facility was in. And I was in the indoor facility for 8 years.
Now, boy, there's a little bit of interesting Bernard Sheridan trivia for all the listeners and viewers out there, is that his former facility is now home to the dog show. So now we got some great Bernard Sheridan trivia out there for people. But boy, Philadelphia, what a great home for awesome golf courses. I know I had some clients up there one time and was up there, and I played a Ronamink there.
Yeah. Good
gracious, probably 6 times. And I'm a big Donald Ross fan. I love his layouts. I love that Donald Ross really will mess with your eyes with some of the lines he creates, or some of the slopes he introduces into his design. So to play a Ronamink was great, and just some of the courses in Philadelphia are so rich in history. And of course, you can't mention Philadelphia golf without going to Merion. And immediately when you say Merion, you go to the 11th hole where Bobby Jones clinched the Grand Slam in 1930, and it's almost sacred ground for golf at Merion. And it was great to see the U.S. Open return there, even though they put the course a little over the edge for my liking. I love traditional old golf courses. The modern golf courses and the modern architects have gotten away from understanding how to build a traditional old style fun golf course. And that goes to what we were just talking about, the rules modification to go with that. And, and the pushback we'll get to that, Bernie, is this. Well, if you play out of play instead of out of bounds or lost, well, that just blows up the handicap system. Well, is the handicap system 100% accurate? I mean, has anybody ever heard of sandbaggers or vanity handicaps? So the handicap system is an arbitrary thing anyway. Most people don't show up and they go, my index is 7.4, what's your index? Most of the negotiating I hear about scores and strokes is, I shoot around 80. What do you shoot? I shoot around 76. Well, I'll give you two aside. That's the negotiating I hear. You don't hear them go, well, what's the slope? What's your index? I hear them talking more about, what's your average score? And we go from there. And along the lines, they'll adjust that the shots for as they go. But, you and I are of the same cloth here. How do we grow the game? Because to me, the bodies that should be growing the game are hurting the growth of the game. They need to listen to those of us in the trenches that have a passion for the game, a love for the game, and have some serious ideas that will make the game better, create more fun, which is going back to the roots of the game. You have more fun playing the game, you'll play more.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to have fun. It's a recreation. Sometimes people forget that. I mean, recreation to me means I'm going to go do something that I enjoy with people that I'm going to have a good time with. And that's what golf is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, I have to go out there and I have to shoot this score today because yesterday I didn't. And for my handicap to drop or for my handicap to stay where it is, I have to shoot this. That's more of work, not play. That's more of working at golf, not playing golf, not having fun at golf. And that's why I think the way I teach too, I try to incorporate some of that. I mean, we get serious, we get down to work. There's things that they have to do. They get homework. They have drills they have to do. They have certain things that they have to work on because they want to improve these certain parts of their game so that they do shoot better scores. And to them, shooting better scores is having more fun. Well, nobody doesn't like to shoot better scores.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's face it, that's definitely going to have more fun when you do that. It's not fun when you're hitting it in the trees and looking for balls like we talked about earlier. So as long as you're doing something and not working so hard at it that it doesn't become fun anymore, that you're still having a good time, that you enjoy putting the work in and enjoy putting the time or the effort in to improving a certain part of your game. For me, it's always impact. I always try to get all my students to get better impact, and then everything else will kind of take care of itself. But if they enjoy doing that, then they can take that out to the course, or they can go practice, or they can work on their drills, or whatever that may be. Now, when we talk about drills and things like that, are there any specific drills that you like to use, or are you a drill person, or are you not? Some guys I know, a matter of fact, I had a guy on the show last week, and for our listeners out there, all our shows are taped. They air anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks after they're taped. So this gentleman that I had an interview with last week, he said, "Bern, I don't use drills at all. I don't use any drills at all." So, which I was kind of surprised. I think that most instructors use some type of drills, but I thought, okay, that's fine. So, are there any that you use?
I do. We have a ton of drills we use at the academy, and I have a couple different ways of looking at drills. And so when I interview a player, as we start to talk, and I learn about their time commitment in the game, what do they want to get out of their training and coaching, I create a two-headed drill program for them. So I'll create drills they'll do at the course where they got a club in their hand,
yep,
some balls in front of them, whatever. But I'll also give them a segment of drills of what I call microwave drills, which means they live in Pennsylvania or they live in Minnesota, or for those of you that are watching that are in Idaho right now, and you're 3 months from thawing, I'll give you a drill you can do when the microwave is running or during commercials of your favorite TV show. So you can get up there and grab a spatula in the kitchen. You can grab a serving spoon, something, and I'll give you a drill to do, or your remote control on TV. I'll give you a drill that you can do during these pauses in your day. That'll help your swing and your game. Excuse me. Conversely, on the golf course, it's easy to find some drills that you can give a player to help them groove a specific position in their swing that they're off on, so to speak. Whether it's, like you mentioned, impact. You can do drills with an impact bag, or you can do the preset impact drill. There's, to ask, it's really kind of funny as you bring it up. There are probably so many drills locked in my brain to say, okay, Rob, talk about drills. It becomes the file card index just got thrown in the air.
Yeah.
And it's like
52
okay,
pickup.
it's like exactly like 1,000 note cards just flew out of my head, and I'm going, drills. Yeah. Let's see. I've only got 1,000 of them in my brain. What's burning on? What are we trying to talk about drill wise? So I don't know that we really have a specific go-to drill, because the way we coach at the Strano Golf Academy, and as I mentioned in passing earlier, my big influences in coaching were Jim Suddy and Mike Adams, Mike McGettrick, who was under Mike Adams when I first started working with Mike.
Sure.
Is we teach people, we don't teach methods.
Yes.
I mean, if I'm standing next to you, no one's going to walk up and say, hey, is this your brother? We don't look anything alike. We don't talk alike. We're not built alike. So everybody's got their own strengths and limitations. And like I said, in our interview process, I'm asking some pointed questions to figure out, in my mind, what's the 3D move that this player is going to make when I hand him a golf club? And I ask pointed questions such as, any sprains, broken bones, anything that's sore when you play golf, any surgeries. And I tell them, go back as far as you can go on your timeline. I don't care if you say, yeah, I broke my leg when I was 12. That's still a viable thing I've got to consider when you're 40. Because when you injure yourself severely, your central nervous system does this. Whoom. It protects you. And if you've never released it, or it's never been released to say I'm 100%, it's still in protect mode. And you can see it in a golf swing. It's interesting, I have a guy from New Jersey that comes down, he's a member, he commutes. And in our first couple lessons, he was making a funky little move with his right shoulder in the backswing, where his right shoulder, instead of keeping moving, it kind of did this. It's like, that's kind of an odd move. So after like the second lesson, Susie Stanley, my TPI certified staff coach, I said, Susie, I want you to do an evaluation for Patrick, because we hadn't had time to do one up to that point because he's coming and going.
Sure.
But I made sure we budgeted time to get him in and do it. And so she did it. And at the end, she's kind of going through the results, and she goes, oh, and he's got a little right shoulder instability, whatever it is. And he goes, oh, that's interesting. I broke my collarbone 15 years ago. We didn't do anything about it. Now, in our interview, he never mentioned it. Never mentioned it. And all of a sudden, ding, the whole light bulb came on. And we realized that we had something we had to work around. So when it comes to drills and things for players, one thing we're always looking at are what best fits the direction we're trying to get the player to go, and what is something that they physically can do. So when we're working with the player to start with, I'm able to take the swing, and it's a weird thing. I can spin it around in 3D in my head. I can make them stand on their head. I can look at them from underneath. I can move them around in my brain. So when I see a player, I instantly know as they work through the 4 clubs I have them hit, which are the 4 subsets in the bag: wedge, 8, 6, driver. It's your shortest club, a wedge, a short club, a middle club, and your longest club. I'm looking to make sure I see the same thing across the entire platform. Then, as I'm seeing it, I'm going, okay, we're going to see A, B, and C on video. If I introduce A, does it make them better? Do they move up one step on the staircase? Because Golf Channel Academy coaches, we teach skill mastery. We teach you to move up one step at a time. We give you one thing to work on, not 15 things.
Sure.
And so I never want a player to be here and go there. And most of my players will never have a drop off after a session. They'll continue to do what they're doing. But if they give me a little bit of what I want, they'll go up. If they give me everything, we're going to go up on the step. So I'm looking at A, B, and C. And if I introduce A, does it make the ball fly better? No, it makes it go worse. If I introduce B, does B help? Oh, yeah, B moves us up the step. So is C better than B? No, C's not better than B, but C will help B. So we're moving them up that staircase and helping them get better. And then we introduce the drills that help them move right through that process and just climb that staircase. And that's what you're trying to do in the game. You're trying to build your staircase. So, the number one player in the world right now, Jason Day, although I didn't see the rankings, I don't know where Hideki went after yesterday.
Yeah.
But Jason Day's staircase may be 1,200 steps high. As a tour player, I might have only got to, 1,010 stairs. You're trying to build your stairs as a player, and drills help you get a feel for what you're trying to do. And the funny thing was, I just saw someone comment the other day about muscle memory. And muscle memory is just junk science.
Yeah.
When your biceps can tell me what 2 + 2 is, because the brain cells in it tell me what 2 + 2 is, then I'll believe in muscle memory. The only thing they can remember is this thing.
Yep.
Otherwise, we have ingrained feelings and sensations that we've got to break the muscle apart and teach it a new feel so that it feels it's moving in a different way. We just put the phrase muscle memory on it, and it's just a cute way of saying, I got to change how I feel the way this thing moves. And I guess, one thing we do use, and I did a Golf Channel clip on it, is we have a light hand weight on the out of the academy, little 4-pound hand weight, and we'll have the player grip it like it's a golf club, and say they're too flat and around going back. We'll have them take the hand weight and swing back to what we would call the L, left arm parallel to the ground, shaft vertical, and make that hand weight stand up. And we'll have them do it 10 times to bust the muscle feeling up. And then I'll give them a club, and all of a sudden they'll go back, and that club will go whoop and point straight up in the air. And it's like, whoa, I've got the right feeling. So I'll say, well, there's your microwave drill until I see you again. You're going to go home, grab your hand weight, and during the commercials of, maybe you're a big fan like I am of NBC's new show, Timeless. So you're watching Timeless tonight at 9 o'clock Central Time. A little plug for it, I guess. And as you go back, you've got the hand weight, and you're doing that during every commercial. Well, there's something that you're working on in your free time, so that when you do pick up a club, we've busted that muscle loose, and we're getting a better pattern out of you.
I like the tag line or the tag microwave because most of the time when you're microwaving something, it's a minute or two.
Exactly.
So a lot of the stuff that I give my students also don't involve a ball, so that they can, so no matter, even if they're in Florida, I can say, hey, because a lot of them aren't here the whole time. They're visiting, same as they are where you are. And I'll say, hey, you can go back to your hotel room, and you can do this drill and do it 10 times, and it's going to take you 15 seconds to do it once. So now you're doing it for a couple of minutes, and just do that, and then maybe a little bit later on, do it again for just a few minutes. And if you do that daily, it's going to start to soak in, and it's going to start to become part of that motion that you're trying to create. So I'm a huge advocate of drills that don't involve a golf ball as much, because that's the type of thing that people can do anywhere, and because people aren't always in a situation where they're in a spot where they can hit a golf ball. They might not live close to a range. They might not live at a golf course. They might not be a member at a club. They might not have enough room in their yard to hit balls or things like that. So they're not really focusing on the ball either. They're focusing on the motion, and I really like that.
And then that's exactly right. And I tell my players, they'll say, well, when do you want to see me next? And I'll say, when you've got 1,000 reps in for me, whether it's the microwave drill or the on-course drill, and they'll say 1,000 reps, and I'll break it down to the numbers like you just did, and they'll go, well, I can do that. I can get that in. And I tell them, look, if I don't get 1,000 reps from you, just give me your note card back I just gave you with the key things we're working on, and I'll go inside and copy it, and I'll give it back to you if you're going to see me next week and haven't got your 1,000 reps in. I want to see you get the 1,000 reps in, and then I want to see, after 1,000 reps, how does your body learn it? Have you learned it? Do I need to give you another drill to accent what we're doing that takes you and busts you through where I want you to get to? And so, if we get that quantity of work, and I've seen, how does this player respond to it? Which is kind of a, I don't want to say a trick in coaching, but it's really how you do coach. I mean, I'm a quarterback dad. My son was a quarterback, and I know from being his receiver all my life and sitting down and helping him, learn plays and reads and stuff. I had to look and see how did he best understand things. And one of the fun things we did in helping him learn coverages was I bought a set of remember the old, not Mattel, it was whatever company that made the electronic football with the little players and the table vibrated. Tyco.
Yeah.
And the players moved around.
Yeah.
I bought 2 teams of those players. You can still buy them on eBay, I think. And we would set those up on the kitchen table, and I would move them around in coverages, or I would set up the defense, and I would make him identify what are his threats here. Who's a potential blitzer? If this guy drops into coverage, what's your hot route here? Who's the guy you're going to check down to? And so I got to that. It was a great way for him to learn. So I had to kind of go through and figure out, how did my son best learn this stuff? And he was a really smart quarterback. Same thing with your students. You got to figure out how do they figure this stuff out, and that way they learn it on their own and they learn it quick.
Yeah. So for folks out there in our listening audience and our viewing audience who want to get in touch with you, first is, where exactly are you located? And I'm sorry. And
okay.
How can they get in touch with you in order to maybe do some work with you?
Well, I'm at a beautiful place on the island of Destin in Florida. I'm at Kelly Plantation Golf Club, right across the Mid-Bay Bridge. And you come across the Mid-Bay Bridge into Destin. We are right there on the right on Choctawhatchee Bay. Beautiful golf course, incredible practice facility. I'm really blessed to have a practice facility that I say is the best one from Mobile across I-10 till you get to the stadium course. Fantastic place, a great golf course. There are several ways to get in touch with me. And I always say I'm the easiest person to find on the planet. I can't hide from anybody. So Strano Golf, Strano, golf.com is our website. You can go there. I'm all over social media, whether it's Instagram, Twitter at Rob Strano, Facebook Strano Golf Academy, or Rob Strano on Facebook. Are easy ways to get a hold of me. But, we've got a great spot at Kelly Plantation. And just when we work with players, whether it's short game, full swing, we've got everything we need to make a player better, from playing lessons on a great golf course to our practice facility to being able to sit down at the academy and visit players in a beautiful spot.
Well, Rob, thanks so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. You were a great guest. You had a lot of great information to give our listeners, and they'll all be able to listen to this very shortly and watch it. And once again, what we always like to say in parting is, do your best when you are out there to keep it in the short grass.
Well, I had a great time being out with you, Bernard, and hopefully everybody will tune in every week to Breaking Par with the Bernard Sheridan right here on his channel on YouTube and his podcasts. I had a blast. I'm going to part with this. I had a great time. Let's do this again sometime again.
I would love to do that. I would love to have you back on again and talk your, pick your brain on some other things. It's always wonderful to speak with someone with the knowledge that you have and the passion that you have. And that's the key, is that passion.
Thank you, my friend. I enjoyed it.
All right. Take care.
You've been listening to Breaking Par with your host, Bernard Sheridan. Follow us on Twitter @Breaking Par and on Facebook @Par Breakers Golf Academy. Until next week, try to keep it on the short grass.